Well, who's on first?
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Who? The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Who is on First. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, I am Tim Ellebrook, that is Brian Kaplinger, and that is Michael Ramsey. Boys, before we get started, how is everybody doing this week?
Fantastic. You boys already know the answer. Fantastic. Cubs are playing great ball. Beautiful outside. Cannot complain.
Yep.
Yeah, things great in North County. You know, had to show some love to the Astros today, so I switched up, put the hat on, hoping maybe we can get them out of this funk. Because it's rough when you see a good team like that not really playing well and some bad news for them. But, as I said right before we got started, good baseball is here, and good baseball is fun to watch regardless of what team it is.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of different continuation of the weirdest season of all time, it feels like, but we'll go over all of it. We got a lot to cover today, but before we get started, just a reminder, everybody, please like and subscribe. Leave some comments because nobody's doing that right now, and that would be awesome just to continue the conversation of baseball and this beautiful, crazy thing that we all love so much. All right, let's do it. So we're going to talk a lot about this episode about the Cardinals and the Cubs, different streaks that they had. The Cubs went on, I think it was an 11-gamer by the time that you guys finally lost one. It was an 11 or was it 10? I thought it was 11.
I think it did get up to 11 as well.
Yeah. And then the Cardinals had a 17-game stretch, no days off. There ended up being one. We're going to cover that in the second half and spend a lot of more time, but for the first half, we're just going to go over some cool stories from the week that we thought were exciting and then kind of go over the standings and where everything is at right now. So, Brian, hit me with your big number one for the week.
Big number one, man. I'm just for me, it's pitching in general right now, whether it is probably those that are going down, like Skubal being out. We were talking about it before we jumped on, just all these scratches all of a sudden. I mean, even the Dodgers, which we all know the Dodgers are the Dodgers, their starting pitching's always going to be on the IL in some capacity. But I guess maybe for me, it's Jacob Misiorowski and the fact that somehow he has not literally thrown his arm off while he's throwing a pitch. I think that's... To me, that has been so fascinating because it's not the fact that, he's throwing hard. We knew that. We saw that last year. It's consistently now. I think it was to start the game the other night when he pitched. I think he threw 7 or 8 consecutive pitches at 102 plus. And it's you pair that with then the movement that he has, is this really the new trend in baseball? And maybe that's the question for you guys is are we now going to see these guys that are ramping up and throwing triple digits? I mean, we talk about Mason Miller on the back end. Were the Padres onto something and wanting him to be a starter if they can get him to the same place that Miz is at right now? Because, yeah, granted, right now, it looks like he's only throwing about 5 innings. I don't know if that's by design to help mitigate some of this, or is he going to continue to hit 100 plus and start going 6 or 7 in good games? And then we really have a prototype for a new blueprint, because this is what he's doing, in my opinion, starts to rival what Shohei's doing in some aspects from both sides of the plate. I mean, yes, he's only a pitcher, but I don't know that in the game of baseball we've seen a pitcher of the starting magnitude throw triple digits pretty much at any point in the consistency of their start. This is becoming him doing this for 4 to 5 innings, every game that he starts.
That series in general was on my list, but I think about the Spencer Jones call-up in that all, and it's this big touted prospect that, hits laser beams, the same bat profile that Aaron Judge has, and the first pitcher that he sees in the major leagues is just 103, 103, 103. You know, like, and he's like, what do I do? What am I gonna do?
Right.
Yeah, Brian, I would say I could see a world in which we do move towards that because, like you said, like if I can get 5 innings of Mason Miller like that, obviously you love having him in the back end. But if you get somebody of that type, 5 innings of their electric stuff, you can figure out, 4 more guys to kind of pipe in there behind him. A lot of pitchers are going 5 innings anyway, so would you rather have 5 innings of Miles Michaelis out there or 5 innings of Mason Miller? You tell me.
That's a close one.
Yeah,
man,
we all know what the real answer is. Yeah, you bring up an interesting point because pitching is definitely starting. Pitching is heading in the direction of 5 and dive and like stuff over longevity. If you listen to any media pundits podcast or former players, they always talk about how like one of the true marks of a really good ace-like starter is more than just stuff. It's keeping the bullpen rested.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be interested, we won't know until time says it, but like most of these teams that are doing that are burning bullpens really quickly. So the Dodgers, case in point, Brewers, case in point, they're having to go through bullpens like crazy. So their depth has to be really, really steady. But yeah, if you've got 5 of those starters on your team, nobody's hitting them consistently like that.
Right. And so like my thought would be like, and again, we see the Dodgers do this, right? And so wonder if this is going to start to kind of be that blueprint of the sense of you stockpile pitching even at the AAA level, right? On the relief side. And then for your relievers and your bullpen, all you're doing is playing that up and down game, throughout the year where you're getting some built-in rest because you send some of these relievers down to AAA and go, hey, you're not going to pitch every night. You're just going to pitch a couple times to keep your arm warm, rest for the 15 days or, whatever you're going to be down there. And then we'll flip you back out for somebody else again. And you're going to come right back up to the major leagues and ramp it up again. Now, my only thing is I don't think we'll see like a full stacked rotation of 5 Mizorowskis. I just don't know that that's that common at this point.
Yeah.
But, if you could get 2 of those guys, you're feeling pretty daggone good, especially if you can find your way to the postseason to have 2 of those guys for 5 innings and then trust your bullpen. Again, the big key word there is trust, right? You got to be able to trust the bullpen. But if you could make that work, dear God, nobody's going to want to hit. We talk about hitters being able to catch up 2 fastballs, but when you're throwing 102 plus, like it ain't easy. Like you're not just stepping in the box swinging.
Yeah. And his start against the Yankees was, I would say, pristine compared to his norm too, because he usually has some wildness to it. Yeah, and he was painting like incredibly well. So the one thing I would say, and again, this is going to take time to figure out, but like how long of a season can he have? Because I know last year they shut him down and put him in the bullpen for the second half. I know he came up. He didn't start the year. He came up like midway before the All-Star break, made the All-Star team, had all that controversy. Post All-Star, they put him in the bullpen. They had him as a bullpen for the playoffs, but then made him a starter too. So it's like, how many innings can he have in a single year at that? But it also too, like every individual body is all unique. Like no 2 bodies are the same. So Paul Skeens can do that, but there's no other body like Paul Skeens.
Yeah. Well, and it's like that kind of segued me into mine was all the major pitching injuries we had last week, because it was not just like, and Skubal was much the same as Skeens, whereas Skubal is an absolutely built individual, and now he's hurt. So we had the Skubal, we had Ronel Blanco, Tyler Glasnow, Luis Gill, Matt Boyd. Now Matt Boyd's was obviously separate.
Right.
Dude got injured playing with his kids. That one hurts.
Yeah.
Sousa from the Astros. Diamondbacks had 2 relief pitchers. They placed on the 60-day IL last week. And so that kind of goes to the other side of that coin there, Brian, are too many guys throwing too hard. And it's starting to really start to ramp up. And like you said, the Dodgers have been playing this game the last couple of years anyways, with just loading up with unbelievable amounts of talent. And they'll never tell you whether they did or not, but they shut down Glasnow and Snell for the first 4 months of the season last year on purpose. Then they just ramped up just in time for the playoffs for this great run. But that to me is the other side of it. So whereas we're getting ready to see Garrett Cole and Corbin Burns are starting to make some rehab starts, they ran into those injuries already. And like I said, Skubal, that could be a major story for the offseason too, with it being his contract season, of how that could affect him. But I'm kind of leaning the opposite way on that, Brian, are too many guys getting injured now because we're looking for so much velocity plus the movement of the ball from these guys.
Yeah, you missed Garrett Crochet there too. He went on the 15-day.
Yep.
I think it was his shoulder.
I think
his is estimated to still be. No, it doesn't need a 60-day thing, but Boston's going through it, and they lost their ace in the process too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, again, Tim, you alluded to it a little bit. When you talk about some of the mainstream reporters, pundits, those that cover baseball, they want to go back to, especially with ABS, where you can paint these corners because you're getting the calls much better. So velocity doesn't necessarily mean you're going to always get the guy out. Now, obviously, it takes somebody special. Is Miz the special kid? He's got electric stuff and speed. I think the time that's going to tell for someone like him is going to be, can he keep the walks down? Because what you sent a message in our text thread, he's at 33%, 38% strikeout
39.
rate? Yeah, so that's insane. That's reliever type strikeout percentage, but from a starting pitcher.
Right.
So it's special that of what you're talking about or what you're seeing and what we're talking about. I hope that the kid stays healthy. I hope he can, figure it out, because I think it's good for baseball in general on some levels. But my God, if he does, what's that going to mean for the kids that are in AAA and even the lower levels that are all of a sudden going to have to start ramping up and trying to hit triple digits? We saw it in the WBC by the one teenager against Judge. It's just those type of things. They're there. It's just only a matter of time. And maybe, again, I'll say this and we can end on this one for this part and hear yours, Tim. We thought with the emergence of Shohei, we would see more players try to do the dual purpose role, be a starting pitcher and also DH or play the field in some capacity. And that just hasn't happened because you're starting to recognize just how difficult that is. And maybe for Mizorowski, it's the same thing. You're not going to see too many of these guys that can really do this at a starting pitching level. And so maybe it won't creep its way into baseball. But again, I'd be interested to know what the listeners think as well. Chat it up. Like Tim said, I'm not too proud to beg for your comments. So let's get them going.
That's a good song. It's interesting. Not all rotations are equal, and I don't know that we all think the Dodgers have the blueprint because, it's stack as much, insane talent as you can. And their Yamamoto is, this is interesting now that I think about this. Yamamoto is an interesting study case in all of this because that's probably one of the most regimented, healthiest, probably most elite pitchers. It's kind of like one of those guys. He's never going to win the Cy Young because his stuff is not top tier.
Right.
But he's got really good stuff. He can go really, really deep. You look at his playoff run. But he's only a probably 9.5 K per 9 type guy. Mm-hmm. So it's we are enamored with stuff, and stuff it's fun to watch.
For sure.
It's fun to watch Miz throw 103
right.
9 times in a row, and it's like, and then the 5th inning, he's still doing the same digits. You know, like prime, I guess you could say probably prime Verlander or from back in the day, getting to the 8th inning and still throwing that high. But, and I'm not trying to be a homer here, but like the Cardinals rotation is considered one of the worst in the league, but they still have a really good winning record. Now, this isn't playoff baseball, so it's not like, you know, we can compare it that way. But it is kind of interesting. Not all rotations are equal. You know, the Yankees have one of the best rotations in baseball, and their talent is, you know, their stuff talent, you know, like high tier talent's really high, but the Brewers ate them up.
Yeah.
But barely. Like, it wasn't like a blowout series. They just kind of like scraped by and did it that way. So I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that, I don't know, I probably feel like an old school guy here, but I think starters going deep's a little more fun than that much talent. You know, having basically 2 piggyback starters every turn, because, you know, your guy's so talented he needs a piggyback. He can only go 4. Like, that's still success, right? Like, 2 guys going 8 to 9 innings is pretty stellar, but I don't know. I don't think one's good, bad, or the other. You don't want to see pitchers on the IL, though.
Yeah, I'd ask you, would you rather have a guy who's more of a above average starting pitcher, but have that long relief guy that could eat 2 or 3 innings for you every couple days? That's absolutely elite in that position. I look back to like Andrew Miller during his time in Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, that guy was basically unhittable, and they'd send him out there for 3 innings every 2 or 3 days. To me, that guy's almost more valuable than a guy getting you 5 innings, but with electric stuff.
That's a good question. I'd probably counter it with saying I would want someone like Yamamoto 5 times. Because
Yeah,
Because you can send him out the very next
everybody
night.
would. Right,
you know,
right.
there's 30 teams and there's one of those, and
Yep.
you know, if everybody's got a 5-man, you know,
Yep.
I think you're looking to develop those guys who can. These guys aren't swinging and missing, so I need this ground ball here.
Sure.
Oh, this guy is not seeing this pitch, so I can just throw it up there. Like pitchers versus throwers.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, Brian. Do you have an answer?
I don't. I mean, you know, part of me looks at it, and I mean, as much as I can appreciate what Miller was able to do in that run, I mean, it did change. I will say more for the playoffs, it changed what Cleveland was able to do, because you don't have to worry about pulling a pitcher. You've got a guy like that can just come down and lock it down. But man, I mean, you know, this may not be for this episode, but I think what it's leaning to maybe in the next upcoming episodes here is we all need to sit down and put our rotations together, our 5-man rotation, each of us, and see what we come up with. It can be anybody that is starting currently in MLB. You can't do past. I mean, as fun as that would be, we can't do past. You'd have to do somebody that's present and put our 5 rotation players together and see what we come up with as far as how it would rival. Because I'd venture to say we all have a little bit different take. I think there would be some players that would show up in multiple ways, but it'd be interesting to see, Tim, your version of who's your ace versus my ace.
True.
And how they lay out. So maybe that's just a note for another day.
I like
but
it.
I mean,
I would say it's hard to pick a rotation for the regular season and the playoffs because they're 2 different games.
Yeah.
So one of them you're just trying to get through this gauntlet of, numbers.
Yeah.
The other one you're like, okay, I don't care how long you go, but I need these, these 6 out, these 9 outs. Because rest is so much different in the playoffs too.
And this is where everybody, and rightfully so, you can come and crucify me in the comments. All of this, I'm ready for it. And I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but I'm going to say it. And I'm going to try and keep a straight face with it. That's why people and players like Miles Michaelis are valuable in the regular season. Like,
absolutely.
That
Any
is
needers.
right. Because it's you hate to say this because I don't think any competitive player is going to come out and say this, but you know what they are. They're throwaway games in every series all of that. And so the goal is just simply it's not going your way. And typically, and more often than not, when Eric Fetty or Miles Michaelis is on the mound, you know the game's not going to go your way, but they're just going to have to wear that. And you build, much like in hockey, when you're just the bruiser that's going out there, you're the enforcer that's going out there. Miles knows for the Nationals this year, his whole goal is just to come in and save those young pitchers. So when he's out there on the mound, he's going 7 innings, whether he gives up 35 runs or he gives up 2 runs. It doesn't matter. He's in it for the long haul, and he needs to be ready. And I think, I do think that every staff should really start to look in that direction, as painful as it can be. I think you have to have that guy. You're just willing to say, you know what? They're going to go out there. They're going to wear it regardless of what the score is. You're pitching 7 innings. I don't care if you got to throw 150 pitches to get to the 7 innings. That's what you're doing. Because it will save your team for the playoff run. Now, you can't count on those guys in the playoffs, and that's where St. Louis made their mistake, is those were the guys that were also supposed to start the playoff games. You can't have that.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the trend of organizational depth, and I'd be curious to see how much players like this way, because those 2 or 3 inning guys that are elite and everything probably make less money in that role
100%.
than if they were given the option to start. So it's like, on one hand, hey, this is the only way I'm going to get paid and I can play, but I can make so much more money if you just give me a chance over here.
Right.
So do they approve? I mean, approve might be the wrong word. Do they like that? It kind of makes me think back to Tyler Glasnow was interviewed, I think it was a couple of years ago, and asked about like the health issue, and I think at the time he's still never thrown more than 120 innings or 130 innings in his career. What is players' point of view of like it and of the issue? And he's like, we don't care. Whatever is going to get us to make the most money is what we're going to do. Like you could tell me to not throw as hard, but I'm not going to make as much money if I don't throw 97, 98. Oh, and he also said, he's like, if I don't throw that, like I'm not good. Like I can't locate the same as some of these, like as Greg Maddux. He's like, all I can do is just throw really hard, but it makes me a lot of money. So, and if people don't care that I get hurt, like I'm still going to get paid. So who cares? Which, I mean, feed your family, bro.
Right.
Absolutely.
And own it. Like, I love that he owns it. Like that.
For sure.
That's the key part of it. I mean, he's the fortunate one, right? I mean, now he's with LA, so they don't care if you're ready for the regular season or not.
Right.
So it really benefits him in that regard, and it's fascinating to me because maybe there should be more teams like the Brewers, because you have a Miz, that you invest in someone like a Miles Michaelis that is going to be able to, take those lumps. But when you're in a market like that, what are like you look at them, they're in a super competitive division. We talk about Milwaukee. They can't just be throwing away games at this point, because those games are going to come back to matter. Whereas the Dodgers, they're going, who's in our division? We can throw away some games and we'll be just fine.
We just got to stay close enough to San Diego.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole interesting thing in of itself. Not to belabor the point, but like they know they're going to have X amount of injuries a year. Like they've accumulated all these people, and they know like, hey, we're going to have this number of injuries guaranteed. Their season is mirroring last year in the sense of like the start that they get off to is just an insane run. Then everybody's just like, all right, everybody, let's breathe for a second. We don't got to try anymore. And then it's like, oh, I wonder if they're going to make it or not. Like, and then all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere, they won the World Series again. And they're doing that same thing. It's like they got themselves this big enough cushion. Not everybody's hurt. And I think we're probably going to spend the rest of the year like, are the Dodgers even going to make the playoffs? Like, oh my gosh, their offense is atrocious.
Well, you got to worry about 3 Centrals.
The $60 million player is still below league average or whatever. But they're probably going to do it again. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It makes me think of so much the Chiefs in football, of how like they don't care about the regular season.
Yeah.
They're just staying healthy until
they will tell you they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
No. As long as they make the playoffs, that's all they need.
Yep.
So the thing I was going to mention is our Lord and Savior San Francisco Giants are just the biggest anomaly in baseball this year. Second worst team in baseball, I think, by record.
Yeah.
Oh no, the Rockies have them beat by one loss. Good for them. Second worst offense in baseball, right above the Mets, but like barely above the Mets. I was looking at everything. They are all of their long-term stars. So, Devers, Adames, those guys are all like significantly below league average. Logan Webb was just put on the IL. And it's just like, what the heck is going on over there? We have gone back and forth about some of the drama of like Tony Vitello coming out and he waved for the bullpen, but he had two different sides warming up and he didn't know. You're supposed to give a signal of which one. And on one hand, I'm like, he just started. Like, this is new for him. How does nobody expect this? But at the same time, it's like, come on, you've got like tons of senior coaches. How could they not tell you what to do?
I mean,
and so like this team is an anomaly. And then to top all of it off, Luis Ariz is an elite second baseman now. Like, you have all of these things going wrong. Like, and it's just like the worst thing you've ever seen. And then this guy that nobody wanted to pay because he wanted to play second baseman has become an elite second baseman by metrics and everything. Like, he's accumulated tons of WAR in comparison.
It's calculated.
He's got 5.9 defensive WAR, which is like, what?
It's calculated, man. He's going to get traded. He's going to go back to a good team.
For sure. I mean, you can't tell me they calculated that at the beginning, no. Like, Adames is like one of the worst shortstops in baseball this year, and he was an elite shortstop.
I'm telling you, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Stop switching it up, guys. Go back to what you're used to doing.
Yeah.
No, really, I mean, joking but not joking. Maybe Devers is just
honestly
cursed to baseball teams. Like, the dude is elite for him.
Yeah.
I mean, not this year, but he's been a good baseball player for him. But teams are not good with him, and I don't know what that is. You throw in, and you mentioned it, you throw in a rookie manager who's never been in professional baseball at that level, as far as not even in AAA. He's coming from the college ranks, which is different. I can excuse the call to the bullpen because all the technology that you have right now, typically you're on the phone, you're telling them, hey, in this situation, this is who we want, so just have them ready. Even if you got two people up, this is the key guy. And so scouting should tell your bullpen manager, who's ever out there, bullpen coach.
Jesse Chavez.
Right.
Old Jesse Chavez.
Like, he should be on top of it. Like, managers getting the heat there.
Yeah.
But that's where some of your secondary coaches should go. We know the game plan. We know the call here. This guy should be going out. Like, it's not, it's not that difficult. But, you talk about a lot of veteran style players there. I mean, Devers is a veteran. Adames is a veteran. Ariz is a veteran. You wonder what the feel in the clubhouse is like when you bring a guy in to manage who's not used to managing professional players. It's a very different game. If this was a very young team, like if this was the Cardinals, age-wise related team, I think it would be, more viable in that regard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start talking about some of the veterans who are established in their routines and their ways, maybe Posey got out ahead of himself here, and maybe we'll see the fire sale and go to a complete young roster just to help his boy out there.
The crazy thing about part of it is, too, like the veteran thing versus the rookie manager. Homeboy's got Ron Washington and Bruce Bochy in the dugout with him. Like, they are in uniform with him, and there doesn't seem to be anything weird, when cameras are panning to him, too. So it's like, what? Yeah, I do agree with you. I think Chris Rose made this point, I think a few days ago or last week, about how when your star players come back into your organization, like, there is a plateau that they sit on from their heroics, as a player, and it usually doesn't end well when they become into staff and stuff like that. So I do wonder what Posey's tenure is going to look like. You know, does ownership say, yeah, like sell everybody, keep as much money as you can, we're not going to do this again, and that's fine? Or it's like, dude, what did you do? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Michael. I feel like you were about to say something.
No, you're good. It's tough because I mean you've heard several times of like there's been locker room issues, guys screaming, losing their minds on each other. Like, and Vitello was a phenomenal college coach. Like, it's no knock on him. Like, there's a reason why he got to go straight from Tennessee to San Francisco, because we're not even talking he went to some random small market team or something that nobody cares about. Like, San Francisco's a pretty respected franchise with a lot of history of winning and had a pretty good roster built, honestly. But I mean, it's where you got Matt Chapman out here screaming at guys across the field. You have Logan Webb's literally throwing the worst year of his career currently, on top of getting injured. So I mean, there's a lot going wrong. But it is weird, like you pointed out, like Ron Washington and Bruce Bochy, those are two of the most respected coaches probably over the last, since the probably 80s. If you really look in those guys have a long history of winning or being on at least benches of winning teams. So it's very strange that they're having all those issues. But I actually was really starting to think about the Posey piece too, is like, did they give him too much free reign early on? And the Devers signing, I thought, honestly, wasn't a terrible idea. Giving up Harrison was an interesting decision because I liked Harrison as a pitcher, but I was a little surprised to see him in that package. But Devers, like you said, Brian, he's a great player. As a hitter, not the best fielder, but I mean, he's been significantly above average hitter for his entire career, and he was about an average third baseman. Now, obviously, with Matt Chapman there's not a chance he's playing over him, but I thought the fit could have been there, especially after the offseason of him learning how to play first base. Thought he might slide in there and do an okay job, but there is a lot going wrong in San Francisco right now. And I mean, we were talking about it today, like, they're looking to try to trade every single one of these guys, but they're not going to be able to do it without eating a significant amount of these salaries because none of these guys are playing good baseball right now. So why would you want to take on a huge contract for a guy who's not playing good baseball when you can go get some kid from AAA that can give you a bad baseball?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. They have the worst run differential in the league right now. They're at minus 48 as of recording today on Monday, May 11th. They have the second worst record. There's a few people tied for last. So I guess you could say, like there's 3 in last place and 2, they're next to last place. But it does make you wonder, like, how much time can go past before something needs to be done, in the sense of, like, I don't think Posey's getting fired this year.
No.
I don't think that's how that will work. If anything, Vitello would be fired, but I don't even think that's how that would work.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It will be interesting if they essentially kind of pull a St. Louis, and we're going to get rid of all of these high paid players. We're going to eat as much salary as we can to get them to go. Give our manager a shot at a fresh clubhouse with young talent and see what happens. But the big question is the pitching side of it. There's a lot of pitching talent on the major league roster. Some veterans, some like kind of new players, but like kind of been in the league for a little bit. So that will be the big question because their system is not ready to purge that. But if they see Chapman, Devers, Adames go, like, I don't want to stay anymore. I'm not waiting out this thing. Or they're like, no, we're good. Let's play ball or whatever. But it will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this too, just kind of like, if you want to, I mean, we saw what the Cardinals were able to do in this offseason, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a blueprint for San Francisco if they want to go younger and build their farm system back up very quickly, I think they have the talent pool that can draw some pretty interesting prospects in if you want to throw in the towel on this season and just say, hey, we want to kind of reset a little bit. I don't think they have to maybe go to the extreme that St. Louis is going in that regard, because I think they've got some good pieces. But if you already see they've brought up Eldridge again. He's a key first baseman, power hitter. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Are they going to continue to have Devers just be a DH at that point? Or what's the deal there? Because, again, you're starting to put your roster together where you're landlocking your players that play every day. And so it's kind of, it's getting interesting, in a parallel, I guess, sitting here in St. Louis watching what they did with Nato and, Goldschmidt and all those guys, even Burley to this point now, because, like, Burley at first base, as much as I love him and he hits, he's blocking the catching development, because it's very apparent Ivan Herrera, and we can get into this later, is not a catcher at the MLB level.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, for me, go back to that. San Francisco's in that same boat, and if I want to give Vitello the best opportunity, I'm getting younger quicker than later.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to get rid of all your key pieces,
Yeah.
but I think you need to start really thinking about that. And I think you see that with, as crazy as it sounds, Bailey getting traded. I mean, offensively, he's not a juggernaut there, but you're giving a big defensive key piece away right there for a hope of a pitcher that's going to be good.
So let's play a little game. Say they do a fire sale at the trade deadline, and they're going to call themselves out of it. We need to get rid of these. We need to do a reset and everything. Where does Devers go? Where is the best place and best roster for him to land? Given the fact, let's just say half the money gets eaten.
The Boston Red Sox. Oh, just kidding.
No.
Oh my God.
You know where my heart would say if this team would have to be willing to cut their losses as well?
Yeah.
I would say, man, as fun as it would be, see him in New York with Judge and them, you have to get rid of Stanton. That's the only caveat there, because he's just going to DH. But, dear Lord, to have him, just kind of shove it in the face of Boston, right?
Yeah, the whole time.
Right. Like, I mean, I would make that move. Because when you start to look at it from the Yankees' perspective, Stanton's had some big moments for them. Let's not, knock that. But he's nearing the end, and you're getting the same player from the left side of the plate, Devers offensively, if not maybe even a little bit better offensively in that short porch right field dynamic for Devers. I think it's a win-win. Now, how much money are you willing to take? Because you're going to have to take on a little bit more of that contract if you're the Yankees.
Yep. Whew. That's tough, because you've got to match it up with a team that also doesn't need pitching. Because I'm like, the Astros, huge upgrade from what they're getting out of Christian Walker at first base over the last couple years if they brought Devers in. But they need pitching desperately. They don't need offense. So the fit's not really there. Wow. I mean, that list is not long to take on Devers right now. Like you said, he's got to be a DH for most of these teams. And you imagine they don't want to trade him in the National League, especially not in the West.
Yeah, because I look up and down. I mean, not saying it would be fun, but like, I'm not even saying they would want to take the money, but it'd be interesting to see him in a place like Cincinnati in the Central.
Yeah, they've got some pitching too. They might be willing to part from.
Right, like I could see that fit working, but I'm not sure Cincinnati's going to want the money that comes along with it, because they've got to pay some of their young studs here soon. So they're not going to be able to incur a long-term salary on that capacity. None of the other Central teams, I think, entertain that price tag that it's going to cost. AL East, I mean, what? The only team that really lacks a first baseman and would be the Mets, and who's like, they'll pay for it, but does that get
Can you
them
imagine
anywhere?
one more toxic player introduction into that whole thing?
Right.
Hey, maybe if you add one more, they end up all working out really well together, though.
So I'm going to throw 3 names. I don't think they are realistic, but I think they fit. I think he fits on, we'll say on paper in the lineup. I'm gonna say the Atlanta Braves would be one because their DH
only?
option,
Yeah.
is a DH only. You could put him in the lower in the lineup a little bit because Matt Olson's a better version of him. And the reason I would say it would work out better is that that coaching staff and that culture is not going to let him be a prima donna. The second one, Baltimore, is someone I could see going too far overboard and basically pulling a Giants last year and like giving up too much to get what this player could be. They have the DH left-handed spot that could work for them, but I would also be interested to see the Royals acquire him.
I thought about the Royals potentially. Yeah.
The Royals they don't scream they want to spend the money.
Right. No, yeah, 100%. Cleveland could use the offense also, but they're not going to do that either.
No, not unless they get him at a bargain deal.
Yeah. They have the pitching depth and the pitching pipeline to be able to do that. So I could see that deal working out, but San Francisco is going to have to eat a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see in Atlanta, one of the best offenses already gets him. Obviously, his numbers are horrible right now.
Right.
But in a different culture, you never know.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. The last thing I wanted to mention, have you guys paid attention to Kyle Raleigh lately?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Ever since his stint in St. Louis, where he kind of went on a small heater, 0 for 32 right now.
That's right.
Yikes.
You're welcome, the rest of the league.
Yeah. I read and looked. It's his longest hit list streak of his career. Rocking a 66 WRC plus right now.
Man, that's brutal for a guy who was second in AL MVP.
Right? The fall will be that'll need to be studied.
We thought Judge was falling off.
Right.
Hey, that is still holding up. I'm just saying that prediction's still holding up because he's not, like 180, 200 right now. Ben Rice has taken that from him. All right, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
On? All right, so like I said, I wanted to spend some time just like diving into the Cardinals and the Cubbies this past week because we had some cool stuff happen. Let's go to the land of Chicago for a little bit. So, Michael, your guys' team did something kind of historic. Went on an 11-gamer. I guess there was a couple records inside of it. The last time they did a couple of those streaks was in 2016 when they won the World Series. Everybody kind of looks to like, look what happened that year. You never know. But walk me through your perspective of that streak. Was it a pitching thing helped go through that? Was it offense just popped off, all 11 games? Walk me through it.
Yeah, it was a super weird stretch, actually. So the Cubs got behind in several of those games, and they had, including in that stretch, they had 3 walk-offs back-to-back-to-back nights against Cincinnati. They were down in 10 out of 8 out of those 10 games. They were down in those games and ended up winning. Pitching has been good, but not great. Had a couple games where guys really kind of showed up, and you're like, oh, yeah, that was a really nice start. Like Shota's really been putting in work and showed up big time again last week. But the big thing is just timely hitting. Guys have been getting on base, especially late innings, and they're pushing them across. Is what led to a lot of that. You kind of hit on this is the first time that they've had 2 10-game win streaks before May 15th, I think it was. For the first time since I think it was 1935 or something along those lines. Like I think I saw it was Babe Ruth's final season. So whatever Babe Ruth's final season was the last time the Cubs had 2 10-game win streaks before May 15th. It's been a really strange stretch because when the rest of the team has kind of been ascending offensively, Nico Horner actually got into a bit of a cold streak over the 10-game stretch, especially. Like I said, we got the fortune that the Reds just couldn't close out a game a couple of times. I mean, the one game, the Cubs were up 2 runs going into the ninth inning, gave up 4 runs in the ninth inning, and then somehow pushed across 2 runs in the ninth inning and ended up winning it in the 10th inning on a Michael Conforto walk-off home run.
Right.
In a game the guy hadn't hit in 4 games, hadn't actually been in the lineup in 4 games. Pinch hits in the ninth or 10th inning, it may have been the ninth inning, and walks it off. So it's just, it was a very strange 10-game win streak. A couple of guys at work kind of joked, like, are the Cubs going to lose another game? And I was like, I don't know. They shouldn't be winning the games that they are. So, like I said, the pitching has been good enough. There's nobody that's going out there and you're just going like, this guy's stuff's absolutely electric. Every single time he's out there. The closest we're getting from that is Shota's been really showing up in his games. And you can pretty much clock him for 6 innings. But the rest of the pitching staff's not been great. Matthew Boyd got hurt in the middle of the 10-game stretch, so he pitched in 1 game, pitched well, and then his next start was like the day after he got hurt, so didn't get both starts out of that guy during that 10-game stretch. But it's probably one of the weirder 10-game winning streaks you'll see in baseball because, like I said, it's not like you're just seeing like some just team that's on fire. They just couldn't lose games. It wasn't that they were playing astronomically great ball. It's they were pushing runners across whenever they needed to, and the pitchers weren't giving up 15 runs a game. It is a beautiful stretch that the Cubs desperately needed, really, because Milwaukee's back on fire. And so it was nice to build up a bit of a lead. We're going to be playing them here soon. But it's just like the NL Central as a whole, it's just been really weird. That's Cincinnati went from first place to last place because they got swept by the Pirates and the Cubs, and ended up losing, I think, 8 straight, but they had lost 7 straight just between those two. So, but yeah, it was the Cubs building up that lead, but only end up getting 3 games up on Milwaukee or something because Milwaukee also ended up getting on a bit of a heater there. So,
yeah, your guys' splits are interesting. Home 18-5. Road 9-9, which is interesting because you've played a ton of home games.
That was this streak we haven't talked about, and it hasn't been broken yet. The Cubs are currently on a 15-game home win streak. So they actually were a little rough early on, and then kind of got going at home. And so that's their last couple games have been on the road, which is kind of factored in that because they lost 2 out of the 3 to Texas on the road. But that's part of it. Just was they went on a long stretch of home games and they just wouldn't lose any of those games. So it is. There's a couple more things that stuck out to me during the 20 games in total, the 10-gamer streaks. There's 6 walk-off wins where you came back and won it. So 6 out of 20 walk-off wins, and there seems to be a lot of high-scoring games during that as well, which kind of made me look at your guys' offense, because I was like, okay, they're scoring like crazy, but your guys' offensive not profile, but your guys' offensive players are not who I thought they would be.
Right.
And then also aren't as many as I thought they would be. So Happ is leading your team with WRC Plus at 139. Horner is at 122. And Bush is at 109. And those are the only 3 above league average at 100. Everybody else is below.
It's been timely. I mean,
yeah.
It's just that's what's fascinating, I think, with the Cubs here is because – we all on paper wrote them down as, the front runners for the Central. That I think every major MLB talk, whoever it is, had the Cubs there at that point. But it hasn't been, in my opinion, and Michael, you can jump in at any point and correct me, it hasn't been because they have dominant play. I would just say they're the most balanced team right now. in baseball. They're getting production from players when they need production from players. Like Hap has been fairly good, but he's had some down stretches. But when he's down, Horner's been up, and it's just this balance of back and forth that a lot of teams don't necessarily get as much anymore. It's usually you got your good players, your studs, they're always there. But when they go down, it becomes very, very problematic. Like again, Cardinals are a good indication of that. When their top players aren't hitting, they're not hitting. They're not scoring runs. The Cubs, it's the opposite. Their top players don't hit for a series. The lower end of the lineup seems to come through or step up in that regard. Now, it's not going to translate to these eye-popping numbers as far as WRC plus or batting averages, things like that. And as funny as it is, we talk about, Devers being kind of that pariah, if you will, to teams. Is Bregman the opposite? Like, is he, just this savant of baseball? He gets put on a team, and that team is not necessarily elite and everything, but they're good enough, and they find ways to win. And we all say this, right? It's better to be lucky than good. And, I mean, when you win 6 out of 20 games because of walk-offs, that's just luck is on your side, and you'll take 100%. That. Like,
yeah, because you think about during that stretch, too, Palencia was out for a good portion of that. So you didn't even have our closer for most of those games. So we're throwing Ben Brown, we're throwing Martin and a couple of these other guys in the back end of this bullpen and hoping for the best, and they showed out. So,
Yeah. So I'm looking at I'm digging into Hap a little bit. He's rocking a 16.4 walk rate, but a 30.5 strikeout rate. So he's only got 9 home runs, which leads the team. I guess Mo Baller does not fit. He's not in the qualified timeline, which is why he's not on my list. I imagine some of these numbers would probably change if I.
He's probably a couple at bats away.
Yeah, Conforto is leading in WRC plus when I take that away. Suzuki is someone, and Mo Baller didn't make the list because I think that. Hap is still leading your teams in homers, though. Is this season that he's having from, someone that's watching him a lot, is it sustainable? Is it normal? Is it that's just kind of who he is? Like...
Is that who you're saying? Yeah. I mean, this is a lot of what we've gotten from Hap. If you remember, end of last year, Hap was one of the unluckiest players in baseball last year. So it's like I think he ended up batting around like 230 or something. Like his home run numbers were still up, like over 20 or something along those lines. So okay, but like a lot of it was he just was really unlucky last year. So he was putting the ball in play. In a lot of this sense, it's just ran into balls right to guys. You can't really help that. So part of it also is Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki are both free agents after this year. I think they might be restricted free agents, but they're free agents nonetheless. So it's like both these guys also are playing for contracts on top of that. And the Cubs are going to have a tough decision to make between both of those guys too, whether they keep one, both, or none of them. But I would say for Hap, this is kind of who he is. He's going to go on stretches where he's really high strikeout. But he does take a decent amount of walks. But he's always a guy that finds the barrel a fair amount. So, I mean, you're never going to see him on those lists where you see a guy at 40 home runs, but you can pretty much chalk him up for 20 plus a year. On I would say a big year, maybe you're going to see him bust over 30 or something, but you're getting Gold Glove defense out there in left field. Per the usual, and then, like I said, he's a switch hitter too, so part of that I think factors into some of his strikeout numbers too, because as great of a utility knife tool as it is to have a guy that's a switch hitter, I would imagine, I'm not a switch hitter myself, I would imagine it is pretty tough to go from watching the ball from one side of the plate to the other as the games go on, and you could be more likely to kind of push those strikeout numbers up, I would assume.
Yeah, there's an interesting. He's got an elite chase rate in the sense of just not swinging out of the zone, but his whiff and strikeout rate is like bottom of the league, so he's missing everything in the zone.
The number of times I watched that.
It's very Victor Scott.
Yeah, as I said, the number of times I watched that man swing at a ball that's in the middle of the plate and he's above the ball, and I'm like, how did you miss that pitch?
But you're right. His barrel, his ability to hit the barrel is pretty elite. What an interesting player.
He really is.
So honestly, it kind of speaks to me as like the thing I always say, the vibes or the the clubhouse chemistry that stat's pretty high in your guys' world.
Well, and like you said, like the Bregman piece is weird too, because like, is it Bregman that has caused this? Are guys just figuring some stuff out? Because like Mo Baller's stepping in and like he's just been playing at a really high rate, like that's helped out a lot. And then Michael Conforto remembered how to play baseball this year. That helps too. Is that Bregman? I don't know. There is part of me sitting here going, gosh, I wish we didn't sign Bregman because he's keeping Matt Shaw from being able to play every day. And Matt Shaw has actually been pretty good in the field, but between Suzuki and Bregman, Shaw's at-bats are definitely not where I would love to see him for a guy that we've invested a lot in. But like you said, Bregman could also be a piece there's a reason why it doesn't matter that Nico Horner went on a rough 2-week stretch, because all of a sudden Michael Busch is hitting again and Michael Conforto's hitting home runs after not playing for 4 games, and some of these other guys. Like I said, it may be all credit to Bregman, it may be no credit to Bregman, but they are playing really great ball.
My last question would be, what's your take on PCA this year? Like,
no, that's a great question. So
after getting his schmilly,
I would say I'm kind of the same now that I was on PCA. Hopeful. I was never the person that was like, this kid's going to be the face of the league. But I also think he probably, and he brings it on himself, but like he gets a lot more hate than he truly probably should from a young guy. If you look at his statistics, the guy had a 30-30 year last year. Yes, chucking the helmets and the bats and everything else, like, can totally understand where people get upset seeing that. I don't love seeing it myself.
It was the blue hair.
Oh yeah, sure. So he's not everybody's player, but it's one of those things. Like if he was on the Cardinals, like you'd have to root for the guy. That's how I feel right now. Like with PCA, like I gotta love the guy and embrace the guy because we've invested in him. And worst case scenario, we threw out a 6-year deal on him or something, and it doesn't pan out. Okay. I don't care about the money, what the actual money works out to it, especially right now without a salary cap. Like, I could care less how much money they actually threw at him. It's more of just the years of service and stuff and, like, locking up the position. But it's like, you've got an elite defender with that kid. When he's on the bases, he's an elite, not just a stealing bases, but causing chaos, I would say. Because he'll go take those 2 bags, unlike some guys, and he doesn't have much hesitation with it either. And then, like I said, his hitting profile, we talked about it. If Victor Scott had his power, you wouldn't be sitting here right now going, oh, Victor Scott's probably going to be on the way out because he's not hitting the baseball. Yes, they both have the innate ability to bunt the ball, but Victor Scott does not seem to have the pop that PCA has, and you don't always see it out of PCA, but he'll go on a stretch where you're going to see him hit 5 home runs over a 2-week stretch or something, just because he's seeing the ball really well. And his hitting against left-hand pitching is up a lot this year. Ironically, as of a week and a half ago or something, I was looking, his splits were actually better against lefties than they were against righties, and that was his kind of big major negative mark, was he could not hit left-hand pitching last year. I want to say he was like the worst batter in baseball against left-hand pitching last year. But he's batting right around 250 right now, and if you're going to tell me he's going to put up another 30-30 year with batting 250, I'll be perfectly pleased with the way he plays defense too.
It's interesting when I look at it a little bit more. His launch angle sweet spot went down significantly, and I feel like he needs to go hang out with Jordan Walker. get that launch angle thing swapped out. And honestly, it probably puts him in the right category to get to the 40-40 mark. Because his bat speed is fantastic, hard hit rate's fantastic. If he changed the, what do they used to call that, the uppercut? Is that what they used to call it back in the day, the lift?
Well, it's ironic you mentioned him too. Oh, go Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was gonna say, like, for me, like, and you'll like this, Michael. I think attitude, defense, and even the hitting. I think ultimately, if PCA can stay on the right track, I mean, he projects and walks as someone that, to me, screams like a Jim Edmonds type of center fielder.
Yeah,
that's a good comp.
100%.
Like, maybe not going to be the elite at every aspect of the game. Going to be an elite defender. That's there, and will have big power seasons, but it's not always going to be the power profile.
Sure. Yeah, no, I was going to say,
comp, though. I like that.
You were talking about the launch angle piece, and one that's kind of come up several times is Fernando Tatis Jr. Is he's really his hit, everything about the power and everything is still there, but he's changed his launch angle over the last couple of years, which is probably factoring into the fact that he's not hitting as many home runs because he's still hitting the ball really hard. Correct, right now. He's not finding the balls out of the park because he's hitting the Jordan Walker. The dude was hitting the cover off the ball, but when it goes right to the shortstop, that doesn't really matter if you hit it at 120 miles an hour. That doesn't do much for you.
Right. Tatis he deserves his own episode because that whole thing kind of is an anomaly to me because 2 weeks before the season, the dude could not be stopped.
Yeah,
spending time with Albert Pujols in the cage, just like home runs like crazy. Then all of a sudden he gets to Arizona camp, and it's just like, all of a sudden we're just shooting him down out of nowhere.
He's just done with San Diego, boys.
Deserves a trade. Wants to go back to where his dad was.
That's right. He needs to be in St. Louis. I got a spot for him in left field.
Any other thoughts, Michael, before we wrap up with your Cubs?
No, they're coming into town at the end of the month, which just so happens to fall over my birthday, so I'm pretty stoked for that.
Oh, coming into St. Louis?
Yep.
Yeah, they are. I thought you were saying they were coming back home to Chicago, and I was like, we'll have to see if that streak continues.
Yeah.
That'll be a much-watch series, I'm not going to lie. Like,
100%.
Two teams that are, I guess there's three now that Milwaukee's coming back, but like, we have St. Louis has the best record above 500 teams in baseball. Cubs aren't that far behind with that. So, like, your guys' pitching's kind of injured. Our pitchers can't strike anybody out, but it's working. Who's going to destroy who first?
Our pitching's kind of injured. That's like kind of saying like a deer that just got hit by a car is kind of injured. Our pitching's really injured right now. Real beat up.
That's fair. All right, let's swap to St. Louis. I'm going to throw a couple things in. Brian, you can kind of take it. So St. Louis had their first, I think there's one more stretch, but they had a stretch of 17 in a row with no off days. They ended up getting gifted a day because the weather, but they had a 17 gamer, ended up going 16 games. They went 9-6. Or is it 9-5? What did I write down? 9-6 in this stretch, which is a pretty good record. They swept at home by the Mariners, then they went to Pittsburgh, swept them for a 4-gamer. Came back home. Man, it's a weird back and forth. Yes. Came back home, took 2 from the Dodgers, took split with Milwaukee 1-1, then split with San Diego. So before I pitched this, I thought about this whole stretch because with the way that the game in San Diego ended, getting walked off by Nicky C, and we all should have known it was coming because Bobby Cox died the day before.
Right. Sad.
We got walked off, and everybody in Carlton Nation was like, oh my gosh, this season is just, what are we going to do? And I thought to myself, I was like, when this started, we all thought, well, this is going to be a 60 to 70 win team. And here they are, second place Padres in the West Division. We took it to them. We could have easily won 3 out of 4 out of that.
Yeah.
So, Brian, what are your thoughts after the 16 game stretch?
I mean, for me, it's the same as it was. I mean, they're overperforming, and I think they're here to stay. I mean, I was never completely out on the team in the sense. I think they're gonna fight. They're gonna be competitive. I think we're seeing that up and down the lineup. I think there's still some big holes, and rightfully so. It's a young team. They haven't figured it all out, You said it. I think the biggest surprise in the 17-game stretch, and it started maybe right at that point, has been the starting pitching. I've been pleasantly surprised with what they've been able to do, even though, they've lost some tough ones along the way. I mean, right now, as crazy as it sounds, Michael McGreevy might be the ace of this staff. I mean, the kid does not have a fastball, but apparently he doesn't need it to get people out. And so, so looking at things like that, I think have been impressive to me. I like the fact that, O'Brien has kind of inserted himself in the conversation as one of the best pitchers, as far as relievers on that side of it. Did he give up the home run the other night? Those are going to happen as a closer. You just got to take those lumps. Sometimes it was a bad pitch. And give credit to Nicky Boy. I mean, he did the right thing and deposited it out into the stands. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do in that situation. For me, I think the things that I'm continuing to look at is can Weatherholt kind of rebound? We've seen now some high highs from him. We've seen some struggles. So where does he level out at? I mean, obviously, we talked about this last episode. His defense plays, I think, at a much higher level than anybody expected. Now it's just, is the bat going to be what everybody expected it to be? And we knew he was going to go ebb and flow up and down. Rookies do that regardless. I'm still waiting for Jordan Walker to cool off, and apparently that's not going to happen. And I'm not going to try and complain too much about that. Whatever he did at Driveline to change that bat path and lift the ball, dear God, please never change anything again. Like that, it's working. For me, am I a little, saddened at VS2? I mean, do I think he's still got a future with the team? Absolutely. But I think the writing's on the wall. You saw it in the last 2 games plus of the series where Church was in center field and they started to give Sagasi a look in left. My fear, honestly, with that, and maybe we can dive into that a little bit if you want, Tim, is the fact that with Nootbaar not too far removed from returning, he's going to get the look in left field, and rightfully so, because they need to get him healthy and playing at a high level to get something out of him. What does that mean for Victor Scott? I mean, is he going to have to go down to AAA and try and find something there? Because you mentioned it earlier. He can't hit the ball in the strike zone right now, and he's not doing a tremendous job of bunting, not bunting for hits. I mean, he can sacrifice. He does great at getting the ball down, but he's just not getting on base enough to utilize that speed. And when you have someone with the defensive prowess that, you see in Church out there, and let's be honest, Church is hitting at least 240, 230, 240 with a little bit of pop. He's going to steal that job in center field if VS2 doesn't figure something out.
Yeah, a lot of good points. A couple things that I think about is in that stretch, our offense went from the 6th best in baseball to 10th, which, I mean, being a top 10 offense is still not a bad thing, because you're talking about in that category, the Dodgers, the Yankees, Atlanta, Chicago, let's see, what do I got? Seattle, Pittsburgh. Seattle being in there is interesting.
Right.
But
hey, J-Rod got hot, though. He is on fire.
So it's still a top 10 in baseball, but the offense went back a little bit. That's the San Diego series really did a number on those. I would say those players, because that was just a really well pitched.
Yes.
And San Diego's offense is like the most atrocious thing I've ever seen in my life. But in the process, the pitching went from like 27th to 19, which that's still not. It's not the top half of the league, But the improvement mark, like jumping 7 to 9 teams in the process, so they're kind of like they're balancing out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I am curious to see, over the length of time. I kind of put the season in two categories, like the start to the All-Star break and then the All-Star break to the stretch run. Where does this offense land? Because Jordan Walker's numbers have not really changed. They're still the same. Ivan Herrera's has gone up just because he had a horrible start.
Right.
Got hot. Weatherholt's been a little, like the rookie inconsistency. So after that, though, and then Burleson's been a little inconsistent, but like up there after that, the hole starts to show up. So, what is the team going to do to shore that? Because there are options and ideas, but it does change the landscape and the makeup of the team.
No, I mean, you're right on in that. And I think it's fascinating that you bring that up because I was thinking about this. Like, okay, so here comes the question now. What do we do with Burley? We've talked about this before. Like, I mean, I like him. I don't dislike him as a player, but he's starting to get, in my opinion, what Brendan Donovan was. Not in the utility aspect, but in the lineup sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have players that are, in my opinion, higher caliber overall, maybe higher ceiling, if you will, than Burley's ceiling, that are starting to get blocked because of him or other players on this team. Right.
You talk about someone like Blaze Jordan?
Yeah. I mean, he's a good indication of that. I mean, not too long from now, you're going to be talking about, Crooks or Bernal, those type of guys, because Herrera has to play somewhere. So if you're keeping Herrera, so I guess my thought is simply this. Maybe this is the better question. Is it Burley or Herrera? In your mind, as far as you have to get rid of one of those guys to move forward with this team future wise, or can you play both of them?
Well, I mean, as of right now, they're both being played and they're getting, really high plate appearances. Is it going to work long term? Is I think a little bit of a different question because where does their catching depth come into play? So I mean, we've all seen it. Raniel Rodriguez just got promoted to Double-A, which when you're at Double-A, you're like a hop, skip, and a jump from the majors. Now, he's not going to start, he's not going to make the big league club this year by any means. He probably will stay in Double-A the whole year unless it's just like, oh my gosh, what is this kid? But the catching depth is an interesting thought. And more so towards Herrera. But the thing I think about when I look at our offense as a whole, we're 10th in the league right now. The other teams that are above us don't have as many good players that are above league average. It's just there are some that are bumping the numbers up quite a bit. Like the Nationals are the 7th best offense, but they only have 2 players above league average.
Right.
And they're just bloating the numbers. The Yankees honestly don't have that many above league average players. It's just the 3 that they have are bloating the numbers like crazy. Honestly, the most consistent offenses are the Dodgers, the Pirates, Atlanta. Obviously, Atlanta probably being the best offense in baseball, but the Pirates have 7 players above league average.
Right.
Which is crazy to think. So I say all that to say it will be they are gonna have to make a decision, I think, at the deadline with something like that. I don't think Herrera's going anywhere. If you ask me to pick 3 players to build around, it's gonna be Herrera, Walker, and Weatherholt. Burley's gonna be on the outside of those 3, but that does show we have a hole in the lefty lane.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's why it's fascinating to me because, again, and I'm not here to say Crooks should be promoted at this point, but you have a left-handed bat who is thriving at AAA. Now, granted, there's some underlying metrics that I know you've looked at.
They've been corrected, though.
So, and that's the thing. He's starting to trend to where he's pushing that envelope. And if we're honest, he even projects as a better defensive catcher
yeah,
than what we have right now. And again, Herrera can stay as your DH, but if he stays as your DH, you're limiting yourself in other areas. Like Gorman has to play third base in order to get at bats.
Yeah.
And maybe Gorman's, again, one of those that you move on from, but you don't really have another third baseman waiting in the wings in that regard. So it's not like there's somebody there. I see where they're trying to experiment with it. Like the Prieto move, I don't think that was anything other than they just needed a different approach to come up, because Urias is not proving that he's going to be, a viable option to give you offensive help. I mean, not that he's been bad, but his whole role of just being that bench bat isn't panning out in the offense very well either, because you're still trying to give Gorman every opportunity. But there comes a point when if Gorman doesn't get hot, I think this is where the team falls, right? And that's where I think it's going to get problematic in the long run. And to your point, and to go back to the further question, for me, I would rather give up on Burleson right now than I would Herrera, just because the bat profile is a higher ceiling for Herrera.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Than Burleson. And I could see the translation again, much like we saw with Wilson. Herrera going to first can be a solid first baseman.
Yeah.
And it opens your DH spot back up.
Yeah, I mean, Herrera's rocking still above a 400 OBP right now, which is crazy considering how far we're 2 months into the season, or not 2 months. We are, I think we're a quarter of the way through.
Yeah.
And he had an atrocious start, and he's still rocking that high of he knows his strike zone. And so I think that's why I'm taking him over that. Does that, what does first base mean for that? I don't know.
Well, they tried him in left, and obviously they're not willing to put him back out in left. I don't know why.
This year they've made it pretty much. They've said this is what they're going to do. Is he's going to catch 2 out of 5, and somebody else is catching the other 3. Now, is that going to last the whole year? When we get to the All-Star break, is he going to have the same amount of plate appearances catcher? I don't know.